Concerns about due process in this country in light of this case. It's something Senator Van Hollen talked about prior to leaving for El Salvador. Take a listen.
Every American citizen is due their due process, and people who are in the United States under legal protective status, like Arbrego Garcia was, are entitled to due process. So if the president gets to shred the Constitution and ignore the Supreme Court in this case, it is a very short path to the president ignoring court orders in other cases. So every American should care about this.
Okay, well, joining us right now is attorney Scott Bergman. He is an expert on the Constitution and licensed in 29 jurisdictions in the U.S. Scott, we do want to get your take on this case. We're learning now the Trump administration is building their case against Garcia, but he's already been deported. Some people are saying that that's denying him due process. Others are saying that he entered the country illegally and therefore is not entitled to due process. What's your take on this?
Well, he came in, my understanding is that he came in 2011, and from that time, when he came in illegal, he got protective status, meaning that he was granted visa access to the United States, and once he had that, he had due process rights. And that is the problem that really this case is about. It's creating a constitutional crisis. Just last night, I just read the Fourth Circuit opinion that just came out fresh. And everyone out there should really read this opinion because it is astonishing. The Fourth Circuit, which is a conservative circuit, stated, and Judge Wilkinson stated, with a concurring opinion of all the judges there, that this Article 2, which is the presidential executive powers, basically abused this man's rights to leave the country. And once he was thrown out, they did not respect the court system. So we have what we would call the unwinding of a constitutional crisis, where the presidential powers, the executive powers, are not.
Well, let me ask you this. I want to jump in because you brought something to my attention that I was going to ask you about anyway. You know, the Supreme Court is issuing these rulings telling the Trump administration to facilitate his return. The Trump administration is just defying those orders. What are the consequences of that?
That is part of the constitutional crisis issue, because even if the courts were to find that the Trump administration was in criminal contempt, who's to say that President Trump wouldn't pardon them? And then you're going around and around where there's a dance between the executive branch and the courts. Basically, no one's enforcing who's stepping up to the plate to enforce the rules. And if you can't enforce the rules, then what do you have left in the Constitution? So that is the weakness of our constitutional problems, and it's being played out in front of all Americans right now. Who is to say the next step is that the Americans, the citizens, will not be removed from this country, and it's even being talked about.
Yeah.
Where American prisoners can be removed out of the country and sent out. I mean, this violates 14th Amendment due process, the 8th Amendment, right to counsel. It will go on and on and on.
And that was my next question. Is a lot of people are saying that American citizens born here should be concerned. Are there broader implications from this case? I mean, do you see that as being a likelihood? I know it's being talked about. Is that a possibility?
As outrageous as that sounds, that would be something that is even being talked about, or it's not even to be joked about. And that's why I think the Fourth Circuit came out very hard on the executive branch yesterday. And again, that opinion just came out last night. Judge Wilkinson wrote the opinion. It was concurred in unanimous decision. And the only thing I think that was set up for that was that the Supreme Court is going to take a hard look. I'm sure they're going to take a hard look at what they said and maybe toughen up their order. But even then, will the executive branch comply with the Supreme Court if they do such an event next step from what the Fourth Circuit had to say yesterday? And again, I implore everybody who's listening to this to go and read the Fourth Circuit opinion. You can find it easily online. It's 7 pages, and it talks about the issues, exactly what's going on. And I think it concerns every American right now that, if Garcia could be removed the way that he did, who's to say that the executive branch won't start removing American citizens out of the country?
All right, Scott Bergman, thank you for talking with us this morning. We'll be in touch as this case unfolds. Of course, stay with 7 News as we follow every development in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and Senator Chris Van Hollen's return from El Salvador. Scan the QR code right there on your screen to see all of our reports on the 7 News YouTube channel.